Wednesday means classic Headmasters time here on Random Reviews Titans Return Week, which means we're taking a look at a revived version of one of the original Headmaster characters redone for this toy line. And for the Autobots, that's Hardhead. This is one of those that was supposed to get a toy in Generations back when they did Warpath, and it was supposed to be a remold of him, and it never quite happened. But I'm glad that he finally got his due, and man, did he get his due. He is done up as a futuristic tank. It is very much, well, he comes close to not being an H-tank, just because it comes so close to connecting together, but it does not. And he is the original H-tank, so I guess we give that to him. Either way, futuristic Cybertronian tank. It is very much a nice upgrade of his original vehicle mode, cast in a brilliant lime green, which is very bright on my viewfinder right now, as well as some gunmetal gray for the tread and armor sections. You can also find some beige plastic for the central gun and some translucent orange for the cockpit itself. The same beige can be found as paint on the front, where you get something of a hatch and viewport motif done up in the front, and giving a little bit more credence to him being a tank. I'm not sure if the original one... oh, right, the original one did have that. It was where his tech specs would appear. So yeah, he is done up quite nicely, and it's a very loving tribute to the original Headmaster's vehicle modes. Taking a look at the detail, he does have quite a bit of sculpting to him. A lot of little grooves, little vents here, little panel lines. Very nice. The tank treads themselves are a very sharp variety. This thing digs into terrain exceptionally well, I would imagine. And all the extra armor paneling done up quite well. Little cuts in here, just to give it a little bit of detail and texture. Very nice. Big fan of this. You'll also notice two little Autobot sigils right there on top. Those will be the shoulders later on, so that's a pretty logical placement. So yeah, he definitely does have a great upgrade appearance to his original G1 form. I do like all the multi-section areas of the barrel too, especially like little bits like that where you can see through it. Very nice. He does have little tiny wheels here, but they actually are a little bit larger, so they do have some better roll than, say, Rewind from Monday. And then he has this big thing. I will admit, I haven't seen any Transformer using this as a big front wheel section, but I will say, it does actually work. It does let him roll, and it does roll better than I expected him to. Usually the tanks don't do all that well. So let's see what else can we do, because Titan Masters have a lot of play value to them. Well, for starters, I guess we can open up the actual cockpit and reveal his Titan Master within. Furos. I'm going to have so much trouble remembering all these Titan Master names. Furos is based on Duros, his original G1 Titan Master. So if we take a quick look at him outside of everything else, he's done up in the same lime green plastic and beige. It's got some sculpted detail to him, not a whole lot, but it's all there. As well as, oh man, this tests the focus of the camera. As well as the bright quality. Man, it's so bright in my viewfinder that's getting washed out pretty heavily. Let's see, can I fix that? That's a little bit better. Yeah, you can see he does have some sculpted in detail on the face. He does have blue for the eyes and yellow for the mouth. So he does actually have a fully painted and detailed face. So that's good. Like all the Titan Masters, he does have ball-jointed shoulders for articulation, ball-jointed neck with rotation, and legs, all just one piece for the legs, one piece for the hips. They just hinge up and down. Basic stuff. But let's see what else can we do. Well, like the other Titan Master figures, we do have little pegs where these guys can ride. Once again, we just have these guys just standing on tanks, just riding around, which seems kind of maniac, but why not? He's got 4 pegs across his tread sections, which can hold up to 4, but along with the rider, 5, and then if we flip this up, we get my favorite part, which is an added seat. Hang on, I'm going to get this guy into sit-down formation. Plug him in there. It's got there's a little bit of tab going on to kind of place him in the right spot and give him a little bit of friction to stay put. And you can actually have a second Titan Master riding along, mounting the gun. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite interactions for the other Titan Masters. It's so cool. And if we take his other accessory gun, we can plug it in, and it actually does give the impression that he's wielding like a big mounted weapon as well. It's a fun little play pattern. I do like that. It's such a good use of that extra bulk and gives him some good extra playability in vehicle mode. I think that's what I like so much about these Titans Return toys. All the little things the Titan Masters can do with the bigger toys in vehicle mode gives you so much more reason to transform him and keep playing with him in this mode rather than all the playability usually being shunted off to the robot mode and the vehicle just something he can do. Here, there's stuff he can do that really only works in this mode, so that's quite cool. Alright, but this mode is just about done, so we're going to get him into robot mode. For that, we're going to unpeg a lot of stuff. First off, we have to flip up his crotch, because of course we do. Unpeg that and double hinge the legs over. With that out of the way, we can flip the feet out to the front. I just cut my fingernails. That was bad timing. All of this flips over to the front. All that flips to the back. This becomes his backpack section. We'll straighten down the arms and bend them at the elbows, flipping out the hands. Boom. Come on. Come on. Boom. There we go. And with that, gun hinges up. A lot of hinges in the gun section, by the way. You can actually get quite a bit of range out of this, but for now, we're going to mount it right there. And now, I'll form the head. There's a few things about the Titans Return heads. If you look at the port and the actual head, you can see how it's supposed to go. Like on here, it looks like the head is supposed to be facing backwards, so that these little clips you see molded on, the little like indents you see molded on the side of the head, will fit into the extended parts of the clip, which that's going to create a firmer lock, but it's also going to create this little loose, hear that rattle? That little bobblehead thing, which I don't like. It's a little bit rough, but on the other hand, if I rotate the head around and then plug it back in, it'll actually fit with the shape of the port itself, and with that stuck in, I get a much firmer grip. And I actually prefer that. So there you go. Little tip on your Titan Masters. Just for you guys. Don't tell anyone else. With that, we have Hardhead in robot mode. Again, looking very much the G1 character. A little bit long-armed, but for the most part, that's pretty much what I want my Hardhead to look like. So maybe I'm kind of happy they held off and didn't do the remold on Warpath after all. So as we can see, he does have the classic toy head rather than the one from Transformers Headmasters. You'll have to import if you want that particular head. This is the one I remember, so I'm perfectly happy with this. It's not a bad head. He's got a lot of different details going on. 2 colors, as all the Headmasters tended to do, along with, again, the blue eyes and the yellow mouth plate, just like the little guy had. But hey, that only makes sense now, doesn't it? Now, for the most part, the details are pretty much the same. You know, this is, the front of the tank mode, and we can still see the arms and legs pretty much formed out of those big hunks on the side. One thing about those old Headmasters, the engineering, a little bit more simple than you remember. The only new details we have here is we have a little bit more beige on the thighs. The midsection now features some silver, yellow, and red paint. The pelvic region got a lot of paint for some reason. I also now notice a very tiny Autobot symbol because we need to show 3 Autobot symbols on this guy for some reason. He is super Autobot. And you also have some green hands, of course, just to get some more green in there. There's no green on the lower half of the toy, strangely enough. That looks like something they would have done, but oh well. In a way that kind of works because it keeps that big vibrant color to a minimum and makes sure like the beige colors and the gunmetal are pretty dominant in the robot mode, which gives him a tougher look rather than the super bright toy green that's all mostly kept to the back, as you can see. So, for play value here, you can still use the cockpit gun, of course. You can still do that and mount another Titan Master into him. He also has his actual gun. We'll go ahead and mount that into his hand like so. Pretty much, the strange thing is, like, his vehicle modes on Titan Masters tend to have a little bit more playability than the robot modes. Because here you still have some of the pegs around, but they aren't as useful as they were. They aren't as well positioned. Pretty much just, well, he's a Transformer robot, so we pretty much go with standard articulation rundown, I guess. So he does have a ball-jointed neck, thanks to the way the Titan Master is engineered. And you can flip up the cannon in order to give a better range of that. And while we're at it, yes, the cannon does hinge up on 2 hinges, so you have plenty of room. You can also slide the cannon outward in order to give you full range of motion without actually having to lift it up. So, good on Hasbro, you were thinking. It also rotated here. That's a nice feature. I don't like doing that in vehicle mode just because, I don't know, for some reason it doesn't work as well. So, ball joints in the shoulders as well as a hinge. So you do have a range of motion. It's not quite universal, but you do have a decent amount. Bicep swivel, that works, as well as a 90-degree elbow. You have a wrist rotation, a little bit tight, but it's there, so that's all well and good. Nothing in the waist. We do have fully ball-jointed hips with full range, as well as a thigh swivel, all good, and a 90-degree knee bend. No ankle rocks or anything, and that just kind of hinges down, so the feet don't give you a whole lot to do. But for the most part, all pretty solid. He has a good feel to him, I will say that. Of course, you got hollowed out parts and everything. That's just how toys go these days, but he still does have some good heft, and he still does have a nice, solid feel to it. I think it's because his vehicle mode kind of folds in onto itself and kind of gives him a bit of extra mass where he really needs it. So that all actually works out to make him a pretty solid deluxe figure. So that, my friends, as I reach for another toy here in the shelves for comparison's sake, is Hardhead, redone up in the Generations line. I'm actually quite happy with this one. I've been wanting some classic Headmasters to make their returns, and I am not disappointed with this one. You see, just as comparison, he actually does have some size going for him. I think we are out of the dark ages of deluxes getting smaller. They've actually worked out some of the engineering to kind of balance things out a little bit. But for him himself, I would definitely recommend. He is a good one. And if you missed your Headmasters, this one actually has a lot of little play value to add to him. So go enjoy this one. This one's one of the good ones.